Let's be honest, when you hear property manager, what pops into your head? Probably someone who just swings by to pick up a rent check, right? Maybe calls a plumber when things go wrong. But, that picture barely scratches the surface. We're about to see that this job is one of the most complex, demanding roles in the entire real estate game. So, let's get into it. So, let's ask that question for real. If it's not just about collecting rent, what is the property manager actually doing all day? Well, as it turns out, the reality is way more complicated and honestly, a lot more interesting than most of us ever imagined. I mean, just look at this. This isn't a joke. It's a real description of the job. You're a business executive in the morning, a decorator in the afternoon, and a psychologist by evening when you're dealing with a tenant dispute. You've got to be a maintenance expert, a lawyer, a salesperson, even a marriage counselor. It's just an insane collection of hats to wear for one single job. Okay, so to really wrap our heads around this, here's how we're going to break it down. First, we are going to bust that rent collector myth wide open. Then, we'll look at the incredible balancing act they have to perform. We'll peek inside their professional toolkit, see what the day-to-day grind actually looks like, and then finally, zoom out to see how it all works as a business. All right, Section 1, more than a rent collector. It's time to tear down that old idea and build a real picture of what this profession is truly all about. Let's start with the official, on paper definition. Property management is a specialized field. We're talking about pros who oversee everything from a single-family home all the way up to huge office complexes and sprawling shopping centers. The scale can be absolutely massive, and so is the responsibility. And now we get to the absolute heart of the job. It's this constant, high-stakes balancing act. Why? Because a property manager is basically serving two bosses at the same time, and those bosses want completely different things. You've got the owner on one side and the tenant on the other. Think about it. It's a classic tug of war. The owner's goal is simple: get the highest return possible. That means pushing rents up and keeping costs down. But the tenant, they want the best value for their money. They want a safe, well-maintained home. The property manager is the person standing smack in the middle of that push and pull, trying to keep everybody happy, every single day. So how on earth do they manage that? How do they walk that tightrope? Well, it all comes down to having the right tools for the job, which brings us to our third section, the Property Pros Toolkit. And you're about to see just how deep this toolkit really is. Just let this list sink in for a second. In the morning, you're an accountant staring at a spreadsheet. An hour later, you're a marketer writing ad copy for a vacant unit. You need to understand contract law, but you also need to know enough about plumbing to tell if a contractor is doing the job right. It's not about being a specialist in one of these. A great manager has to be good at all of them. Okay, so we've seen the knowledge they need to have, but what does that look like in action? Let's dive into where all that theory hits the pavement in our next section, from rents to repairs. You can think of their main job as this never-ending cycle. It kicks off with deep market analysis to set the perfect rent. Then they have to merchandise the space, make it look good and advertise it. Once they get bites, they have to qualify the applicants, which means credit checks, background checks, the whole 9 yards. And running through all of that 24/7 is maintenance. It's a wheel that just never stops turning. And holding that entire cycle up is this massive administrative backbone. This is all the stuff you don't see: paying the bills, the insurance, the taxes, managing staff and running payroll, keeping perfect records for the owner. This is where that business and accounting knowledge becomes absolutely critical. So, with all that work, how does this actually work as a business? In our last section here, we're going to look at the nuts and bolts, the contracts that make it official, how people get paid, and the different ways you can build a career in this field. The bedrock of this whole relationship is the management contract. And this is not just a formality, it's a crucial legal document. It lays out everything: what the manager is responsible for, how they get paid, and exactly how much authority the owner is handing over. It's the rule book, and it protects everyone involved. So the big question: how do they get paid for all this? Well, it varies. Sometimes it's just a flat monthly fee. More commonly, it's a percentage of the rent they bring in. That can be anywhere from 3% for a giant apartment building to maybe 20% for a single house. And on top of that, they can often earn extra for things like lease renewals or overseeing a big renovation project. Now, get ready for this. In some places, like vacation areas where people are coming and going all the time, that management fee can shoot up to 50%. Half. If that one number doesn't scream how intense and valuable this job can be, I don't know what does. Wow. And the career itself isn't just one single path. You've got your individual property manager,
Think of them like a freelancer, juggling a portfolio of properties for different owners. Then there's the individual building manager who's laser focused on one single big property. And of course, the resident manager. That's the person who actually lives on site, the eyes and ears on the ground 24/7.
So here's the bottom line, the crucial takeaway. A property manager isn't just a rent collector. They're not just a handyman. They are a master strategist. They are constantly balancing finance, law, maintenance, and a whole lot of human psychology to somehow create value for everyone involved, both the owner and the tenant. Which kind of leaves us with one last question to chew on. When you think about the incredible range of skills they need and that constant pressure of trying to serve two masters, could it be that the property manager is the true unsung hero of the real estate world? Definitely something to think about.